Hey people, what's up? Today's video is gonna be a princess for Christmas in a nutshell. At the beginning of the movie, this kind surname Paisley serves as a narrator and tells us the biggest dream of today's protagonist that is called Jules Daly. She wants to travel the world, she wants to get out of Buffalo because that's the city where she's currently living with her niece and nephew. Also, she really likes antiques. So, this is Jules, and she works on an antique shop. And in this scene, her boss is firing her because the business is low and he can't afford to have her, even though she's the best saleswoman he has ever hired. In this scene, the nephew of Jules, called Milo, goes to a video store and steals a fighting game that is rated mature. And Jules knows the truth. She punishes Milo and she grunts him for 2 weeks with no TV. And yes, these are some lines that appear in the movie. In this part, we have Paisley back, and he's the butler of the grandpa of Milo and Maggie, and he's here to tell Jules and the kids that they are invited to spend Christmas in Castlebury Hall because the grandpa wants to see his grandkids before he passes away. If you haven't seen the movie, you might be asking, why is Milo and Maggie living with their aunt and not with their parents? And the answer to that question is that Jules' sister and their dad Charles are dead when in the moments of the movie. The cause of death is unknown. Basically, in this part, Jules, Milo, and Maggie are getting to know the other members of the staff. Abigail is serving Maggie. Floyd, the under butler, is serving Milo, and Mrs. Birch is serving Jules. And obviously, this is not how they look. I couldn't find images on Google of them. In this part, Jules and Prince Ashton meet for the first time. Ashton is the uncle of Milo and Maggie, and apparently Jules and Ashton have never met, not even in the wedding of their siblings. Now we have the awkward dinner. In this dinner, the kids know their that side uncle and they meet their grandpa. In this dinner, it's revealed that the grandpa had issues with Jules' sister because she was normal and she had no title. This moment of the movie, we have new characters. Arabella is the fiance of Prince Ashton, and we have her brother called Thomas that friends with Ashton, and they are meeting for the first time with Jules. This scene is when Jules, Ashton, Milo, and Maggie decorate the Christmas tree as a family. In this part, we have the reaction of the grandpa, and he's mad because he didn't want to decorate his castle because he was still grieving about Charles, and Christmas reminds him about Charles. As you can see in this picture, Prince Ashton wanted to give an archery lesson to his nephew to have an excuse to bond because Milo is having some teenage issues, and as an uncle, Ashton wants to help him. This scene is not that important in the movie, but it's one of my favorites, so I decided to include it. And since Prince Ashton gave archery lessons to Milo, he wanted to teach waltzing to Jules, but they have the distractions of Maggie's ballet lessons and Milo's guitar lessons, so they couldn't focus on waltzing. So Jules had the brilliant idea to put funky type music instead, and so they had a little fun. And these are some lines that appear in the movie that are just funny. Continuing with the funny scene, this is the interpretation of them dancing funky music. In this scene, the grandpa has an reencounter with his Christmas spirit. So the grandpa decides to make a Christmas ball. Since I talked previously about my favorite scene of the movie, now I'm talking about my least favorite, and this is when Ashton and the grandpa are having a conversation about the guests, and they are discussing about some woman that doesn't have a title. She is an embarrassment and she doesn't have title and she's poor. Then Ashton says that we can't just uninvite her. That will be unethical, and this seems makes you think, especially in the first views of the movie, that they are talking about Jules and she thinks it that way too. But the reality is they're talking about another woman. Also, in this scene, Jules is dropping them while fixing a clock. Because Jules thinks that she's unwanted in the ball, she decides to go to the airport to travel back to Buffalo, but before that, she says goodbye to her nephew and niece and specify that they couldn't tell Ashton or the grandpa until she left. Later on, she gets on a cab and they drive her to the train station so she could go to the airport. Since the staff members knew that Jules left, they decide to look for her, and they bought her a new dress coming from Vienna because her old one was burned accidentally by Abigail. So basically, Jules gets on the car with them and they drive her back to the Castleberry Hall. This is the scene when Prince Ashton realizes that he's in love with Jules, so he breaks up with Lady Arabella because they didn't want the same things, and Ashton didn't believe that he would make her happy. And Arabella wanted just to be a princess, and she only cared about the title. Now is the time of the ball, and the kids go without Jules, so their uncle asks, "Where is your Aunt Jules?" So they answer, "We can't tell because Jules told them to not say anything until she left for real." Jules makes her comeback and she meets up with Ashton, and he says to her that it was all a misunderstanding, and they become a couple because they propose their love to each other. They dance and obviously they kiss. And the ending of the movie is when Prince Ashton and Jules get married. That's the ending of the video, you guys. If you like the video, give a like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's important to subscribe so more people can watch our videos. And have a nice jolly season.